Hello, I'm just another 80s geek, and you are tuned into the Geek Showcase, where we highlight all things geeky. And today, we're going to give you a little bit of a cartoon geek episode where we give you our review of Masters of the Universe Revolution. That's right, Kevin Smith's latest foray into the Masters of the Universe world. We saw Revelation a year or two back, and now we are seeing the second part here called Revolution, which so far just consists of 5 episodes. Obviously, there's probably more to come. So, first and foremost, let's get the Revelation talk out of the way. I know that was very polarizing, very controversial. You either loved it or you hated it. I am in the camp that I actually pretty much loved it. I know that a lot of people had problems that He-Man wasn't getting enough screen time and it was too much Teela. But again, this is called Masters of the Universe. It's not entitled He-Man, and we've got a ton of He-Man throughout the years, so it was nice to see a change of pace, in my opinion, and see some different things happening in the Masters of the Universe world. And I'm just happy to see more content from that world on our TVs, screens, movie screens, phones, wherever you're consuming this. So I was a fan of Revelation, excited for Revolution. Long wait in between, but that's how things do these days. So let's get right into it. And just as a heads up, this is going to contain spoilers. So if you haven't seen Revolution, go check it out on Netflix. It's 5 episodes, won't take you that long, and then you can come back and listen, and I'll spoil everything for you. So we're going to start off just by kind of going through a character breakdown. So obviously we do have He-Man, Prince Adam, who becomes probably more of a main character in this one than he was in Revelation, so I know a lot of people are going to enjoy that. And he definitely has some power-ups and different things that really make him kind of look important and in all his glory, I guess you could say. So along with him, we get the usual suspects of Man-at-Arms, Orko, Cringer / Battle Cat, and we do see some minor appearances from Ram Man and Buzz-Off, which we had seen in Revelation. We do get Andra again, who was new in Revelation, and she has a new position now in Revolution called the Man-at-Arms. She's taken over for Duncan as Man-at-Arms. We also have Teela, who was a major force in the first series, and now she is in her new position as the new sorceress, who also, by the way, is the first sorceress who can actually leave Castle Grayskull. I have mixed feelings about that, but it is what it is. We did have a casting change along the way here. So Teela was voiced by Sarah Michelle Gellar in Revelation, and now she is voiced by Melissa Benoist, who is most known probably for her title role as Supergirl in that TV series. I think this is a welcome casting change. I have nothing against Sarah Michelle Gellar. I think she's a talented actress and voice actor, etc. I just don't think for me it ever fit with her voice as Teela. It was too distracting, kind of took me out of a lot of moments in Revelation just because it was so recognizable. So I really appreciate the switch over to Melissa. I think she does a phenomenal job here. We also got a second casting change, a little bit more of a minor one, but Queen Marlena, who was voiced by Alicia Silverstone in the first one, another 90s star, got switched over to the Star Trek alum Gates McFadden. Yes, a lot of you may recognize her from Star Trek The Next Generation as Dr. Beverly Crusher. She takes over here as Queen Marlena. Again, nothing against Alicia Silverstone, but I do agree with the casting change here, and I think it works with her voicing Queen Marlena. On the bad side, we still get, obviously, Skeletor, or, spoiler alert, he's going to be known as Skeletech at times in this one, due to some of the story, which we'll get into a little bit later. He's going to be voiced once again by Mark Hamill, who does a phenomenal job, as Mark Hamill always does in voice work. We get Hordak, voiced by the legendary Keith David. We get the return of Eva Lynn, even though she's not necessarily a bad character through most of this, voiced by the illustrious Lena Headey. And then we get some interesting characters. Motherboard, voiced by Meg Foster. Yes, the same Meg Foster that voiced Eva Lynn in the original live-action Masters of the Universe movie. Nice nod there. Just keeping up with the sci-fi love here, we get Keldor, who is voiced by the iconic, legendary Star Trek alum William Shatner. So we have William Shatner and Mark Hamill as kind of that character who is one and of the same. We do get a few new characters as well, which we'll talk about here briefly. We get Granomir, which is an awesome nod to the original Filmation series. And who did they bring in to do Granomir? Let's keep with the Star Trek love. We already had William Shatner and Gates McFadden. How about John Delancey as Granomir? I think he did a phenomenal job. A lot of people know John Delancey as Q from Star Trek. He also had a major role in My Little Pony: Friendship as Magic and a few other things along the way. We get an awesome nod to one of the original toys and characters that has never really gotten much time. That's Stondar, who gets to be voiced by Cam Clark. If you had these toys as a kid, you know what I'm talking about. Stondar was one of those 3 Rock Lord characters. Zodak appears in a brief role here, voiced by Jeffrey Combs. We have a nod to the comics with a character named Mendor, who is voiced by Phil Lamar. For those of you that don't know Mendor, he's a more lesser known character from the comics who was basically the physician for the royal family. So he appears in this, and then we get another nod to the live action movie. The live action movie could not do Orko for different reasons, so they invented a character named Gwildor, and Gwildor appears in Revolution, which was phenomenal. I was hoping for some more characters after I saw that, but I get why they didn't do that. Gwildor is voiced by Ted Biaselli, who's also a producer, executive producer on the show. We also get some interesting Masters of the Universe that appear here as well. And I say interesting because these were characters that were toys, so you could have had their toys once upon a time, but the toys did not come out until after the series was canceled, the original Filmation series. So these characters have basically almost never appeared or never had voice roles in any He-Man universe. So Rio Blast comes in here, who, let me just read the trivia for you here on Rio Blast. The character Rio Blast debuted in the Masters of the Universe toy line in 1986. That's after the series has been canceled. Rio Blast basically has not appeared in animated form ever, and it's been 37 years since the toy debuted. We also get Snout Spout. Snout Spout did appear in a couple episodes of She-Ra and had a brief appearance in the Christmas special, but basically I don't think he's ever talked. So we get Stephen Root voicing Snout Spout and Ralph Garman voicing Rio Blast. If you don't know who Ralph Garman is, he is the host of the Joe Schmo Show, from those of you that remember that show. On the Evil Warrior side, we don't really get too much. We get Too Bad, and he doesn't even have much of a role. We have Triclops, which is interesting because he was being set up as somewhat of a main cog in this whole technology angle, and he basically fades into obscurity in this one, so I was really surprised by that. Since we do have Hordak playing a main role in this one, we do get some of the Horde. So we get the Horde Troopers. We get appearances by Grizzlor, Leech, and Mantenna. Unfortunately, they don't get any lines, so we have no voice actors for those 3 characters. They just appear. So it's cool that they appear. I wish a few of them would have got some voices. We don't really see too much voice work from any of the original, like Skeletor's Evil Warriors, and we don't get much for the Masters of the Universe outside of Rio Blast and Snout Spout and Buzz-Off, and then a little bit by Ram Man. It's mainly just those main characters that we get to see from. So I thought that was interesting. I love the addition of Granomir. I love the appearance of Stondar. Gwildor's cool. I think it's interesting that they choose Rio Blast and Snout Spout, but I get it, and I totally am digging that they finally get a little bit more just due as far as in the animated world. So that's all cool. I like the casting overall. The only casting I really have a problem was Fix, because it was Sarah Michelle Gellar and Alicia Silverstone, and they're no longer in this. And the only other person that I didn't really have a huge liking of during Revelation was Orko. I just didn't think that it wouldn't have been my choice, I guess. So that's probably the only one that I still am not 100% sold on as far as the role by Griffin Newman. Nothing against Griffin Newman, it just didn't quite work for Orko from me. So that's the only complaint I maybe would have from a voice acting standpoint. But overall, I love the characters that are involved. Wish we would have got a couple more Masters of the Universe. Wish the Horde villains would have gotten some voice work. But other than that, I get it. You can't cram too much into 5 episodes. So going on to some of the main aspects of this show, we're really dealing with magic versus technology. That's like the whole plot is magic versus technology, which I get in our world, especially with technology seemingly taking over modern day society. I get that. I think it is done okay. I think if I had one complaint about the series, I think such a heavy reliance on the whole magic versus technology, and some of the stuff gets a little bit convoluted. We also have, and I'll get more into that in a second, but we also have the whole kind of sub-story here between Subternia, which is aka Hell, and Preternia, aka Heaven. So Preternia has been destroyed, and then we have some deaths that are involved, which I'll get to in a second. So there's a big movement that we need Preternia to come back into existence, so the souls of those that have pass can have somewhere to find a home for, etc. So let's talk about death, because we already had quite a few characters that had died in the last episode. We had all the like classic characters from way back in the day, King Grayskull and all of his people, etc., and the old versions of different champions, etc. So we have all them. We also have Mossman, Fisto, and Clamp Champ, who died in Revelation. So they're brought into this, and they have appearances. Obviously, we're searching for somewhere for them to be. And then some deaths that happen in this series, this set of 5 episodes. Again, spoiler alert, but we have King Randor, who passes away. We also, I forgot to mention, we had the Sorceress from last episode, or last series. And then we also have Stondar, who is killed in this one to kind of make a point. So we have we have Granomir, who also passes away in this episode. So we have all of these characters that are kind of like in limbo, so to speak, and we have Tila as the new sorceress, who is trying to find a way to get them all back. She needs to recreate Preternia. How is she going to do that? With the helps of Granomir, she learns that she needs the 3 different remnants of the 3 gods that created Preternia, which was Zor, Havoc, and Ka. So the snake, the Havoc staff of Skeletor, and Zor, the old sorceress deal. So she's on her mission to kind of get all of those together. Leads me to one complaint I guess I have in this series is there's so many different like power-ups and new armors and new outfits and new versions of characters that it gets a little confusing, maybe convoluted. There's different words that you could use, but Tila, for example, goes through about 17 transformations, I swear, in these 5 episodes, like, or over the course of this whole Kevin Smith universe so far. Like, she's been regular Tila, she's been the sorceress, she's been the snake lady Tila that we saw in the comics and some of the other stuff early on. We see so many different versions. We'll throw them all up here, but like, between her and Evelyn, like, they have transformed so many times. It's really, to me, maybe a little bit too much. Like, I would have liked to keep that a little more simple, a little more easy to follow, and things of that nature. But that's just a minor complaint. I do think it's interesting that we're going, through this whole thing with Keldor / Skeletor and the story of him being Randor's brother, etc., and how that all works out with Keldor basically getting to infiltrate the royal family and make He-Man, Prince Adam make some mistakes, and how that kind of all works out. That's interesting. Skeletor at times is seen as a very minimal character, but then does his part to really kind of show off and gain that power back through the course of the 5 episodes at the expense of Motherboard and Hordak, etc. So it does leave it open for another series. It does tease some things at the end with Horde Prime and some other things of that nature. We do get to see an interesting twist, which I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of, where Eva Lynn, who is now, I guess, Good Lynn, and they use her name as well, gets inducted into the Cosmic Enforcers with Zodak. So that's an interesting twist, I guess, as well. We'll see how that plays out in the future parts. I think overall this series is really good. I think, some of it gets a little convoluted, some of it gets a few too many power-ups, but I think the voice acting is good. I love the characters that they chose. I think the story is well. I think it's well balanced as far as who's getting what amount of time. I do have a very minor nitpick that I still wish that they had an opening theme song. It doesn't have to be the original one, but I wish they had some type of opening theme song. And just the nostalgia in me wants that. But I do give them credit for these opening artwork sequences, which if you look at these are just amazing. I could look at these or get these like framed on a poster and put on a wall. Like, just looking at those, I think that's a spectacular job. So overall, I think Revolution was a lot of fun. Just 5 episodes, so it doesn't take you a long way to get through it. I love the Easter eggs and the little nods to different things, whether it be the live action movie or some of the comics or some of the toys that never got to be on the show. That's all very cool, and you can tell somebody that definitely loved He-Man or Masters of the Universe was involved in this. I'm loving the fact that we're not getting the blowback like we did on the first one from all the keyboard warriors that were assaulting Kevin Smith and everything He-Man because of all the nonsense that they wanted to spew about Tila and that type of thing, which we're not going to get into. So I like that that's not part of this. I still think that this whole thing is going to be better viewed all at once, in opposition to having these big gaps in between it. Like the big gap between the first part and the second part of Revelation, I don't think did it any favors. We've had a huge gap in between Revelation and Revolution. I know all of this takes time to make, etc. But I think once all is said and done, if you can watch this kind of all together, without having big gaps in between, it's going to play better. So I think that's something to just keep in mind. I'm stoked. I'm looking forward to the second part of Revolution, whenever that will be. And I'd love to hear your guys' feedback and your guys' comments. So comment below. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you agree, what you disagree with me on it. And I'll be back when they do the second part to give you another review. This has been just another 80s Geek. You've been watching the Geek Showcase. Until next time.